Greetings, my friend. I want you to know that you are welcome here. I imagine that if you are joining me here, that you have curiosity about what the Direct Connect Method membership program is all about. And I would imagine that you agree that as individuals, as a species, as a planet, we are facing significant challenges. And I believe all of us are being called upon to tap into our creativity. So, where then does creativity come from? Where does new ideas, where does inspiration come from? Where? I want you to think through a time where you were trying to remember something during a conversation. Let's say it was a song, right? You're like, oh, what's that song? What's that song? What's that song? And I would imagine that the more you thought about it, the more elusive the answer became. And what you probably did is you stopped thinking about it if you didn't Google it. You stopped thinking about it. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you get this, oh, I know, boom, there it is. Or have you ever experienced when you're in the shower and all of a sudden you just, oh, it just flows to you an idea, a solution, intuition, an urge, something like that? Why is it in those situations that these ideas come to you? For me, it's when I am in a place like this, when I am on mile 8 of a hike in surroundings like this. Oh, it just flows to me. So, where does inspiration, where does creativity, where does all of that stuff come from? I find that a lot of us experience creativity and inspiration, or we imagine it as walking through a cloud of gnats. I don't know if you've ever done this or if this is very hick on my part, where you're just walking and next thing you know, you're spitting out flies and gnats. Oh my gosh. In other words, we think that bursts of inspiration, that creativity, that new ideas, that all that kind of stuff, that we think that it happens to us, that we're kind of just waiting and then, oh, here it is, I got it. Then we try and write it down real quick. And to me, as somebody who has been in digital marketing for many years and also an artist for even longer, I have found that the entrepreneurs who we look at and say, why didn't I think of that? Or the artists who create work that moves us, that those ideas, that those people didn't find those ideas, they didn't find their inspiration or creativity by thinking. It wasn't a thinking process. It was, as many of my mentors have described it, a getting out of the way so you can channel process. In other words, I believe the answer to this question, where does creativity, inspiration, innovative ideas, where does that come from? It's not going to come from thinking. That it's also not something that you have to wait to happen to you. That there is a space of stillness within all of us, that if we practice what to do with our body and how to calm our minds, that we can get into what many people call a flow state, if you will. Now, I have found working in marketing and working with other artists that this is not something that a lot of people have developed the skill to do. So that is what the Direct Connect method is really here to help you do, is to put you into situations where you can experience what it's like to be in a flow state, what it's like to be vulnerable, to say something out loud that you never thought you would, and to see people react to it, and to watch that idea grow as a group. That is what we're going to set out to do together. And when you're in that flow state, when you experience that creativity, that you name, I'm in a flow state, I'm tapping into that infinite well of creativity within me, that you start to name it more and more, because when you name it, you can start to take note of what it was you're doing with your mind, with your body, with your attention, with your presence, that allowed you to step into that space. And the more we do that, the more that can go from something that happens to you every once in a while or feels like walking through a cloud of gnats, to something you can intentionally make happen. So what we're going to do is every 30 days, we get together and we go through one of our journaling workshops. I'm guessing if you're watching this, you've been through one of these before. So that's our really immersive, deep dive, hour and a half. We really go all in. And then after that, you're going to get a journal that you're going to work through for the next 30 days so that we can continue the conversations. We can continue that momentum that you've built in the workshop. And then you also get access to my private audio journal. The intention of that audio journal is first of all, for you to get insight into how I journal. So you can use that as inspiration, as resistance, as insights to continue this moving you into more and more that you're able to not be run by your mind, your analytical, your judgmental mind, all these things that our society has put on a pedestal as being the end all be all intelligence and the rational thinking and all this stuff that as a marketer, I know is actually not the place anyone makes decisions from. All of us are irrational beings. So how do you tap in to beyond those things? So there's really three principles other than the hard facts of once a month, deep dive writing workshop, 30-day journal, 30-day audio podcast. There's three principles that guide us. The first one is that we use an experiential learning model. So most of us have learned through what's called a teacher-focused model. So imagine you're back in class, everyone's in rows, we're looking at the teacher has all of the knowledge, and their job is to get us to consume that knowledge, and then they test our ability to regurgitate that knowledge back to them in the form of tests and pop quizzes and essays. This is how most of us were forced to go through schooling, this very outdated, capitalist, industrialist way of educating the masses to, rather than think for themselves, be cogs in a machine. So instead, we believe that the answers you seek are within you and that no one learns anything by being told what to do, that when we can make knowledge our own, when we can go through an experience where we can uncover a truth that was already within you, that is when you can become empowered with knowledge. So we use an experiential learning model. I am not here with the answers to tell you exactly this, repeat after me. Instead, we go through experiences like the writing workshop, experiences like journaling, where you yourself are able to uncover what you already know to be true. You're just making it conscious. So that's the experiential learning model. The next one is we use a process over product journaling and creative process. What does that mean? Most of the time where you've ever done anything creative, whether it's visual art, writing copy for your website, journaling, writing a poem, a song, usually you're doing it with a product-focused orientation. What does that mean? Most of the time, while we're creating, we are thinking of the end result. So if you're writing a poem, we're thinking, I want this poem to be dope. If you're writing copy, I want this copy to make me money. If you're writing a song, I want this song, everyone to sing along. So you're writing with the end in mind. This is the exact opposite. This is, I want you to imagine Tibetan artists that create mandalas out of sand. If you haven't seen this, you can Google it. They make these beautiful mandalas out of sand. And it takes a long time. It's challenging. And as soon as they finish, they blow the sand away. Because it doesn't matter what they create. What matters is how they create it. So everything we do in this, we create as if we're going to throw it away, as if the end result does not mean anything. Because when you tap into a process-oriented orientation, you're able to get out of your thinking mind, your rational mind. Because a lot of times what we do is we judge our creativity before it even is allowed to breathe. Where our minds goes, or something within us goes, write this sentence down when we think, that's not that good of a sentence. So we don't even write it down. Or we're writing and we're like, this isn't going anywhere. So we stop. Or we get so focused on what we want the art to do, to get famous, to finally make me feel important, to make money, to, all these things we think that the end result is going to accomplish for us. When we can let that go and create for creativity's sake, create for the way the process makes us feel, create as a meditation. When we can do that, that's when you can really unlock these answers that are already within you. And you want to know what? Here's the consequence as well. You actually become more creative, so that when you do want to sit down and create something with an end result in mind, you've developed your ability to flow. You've developed your ability to create without self-judgment or self-editing, that you actually become even more creative when the time comes. The last principle is when we're all together, we use principles of dialogue. Dialogue is different than debate. Dialogue is not a conversation. Dialogue is not an interview. Dialogue is not self-promotion. There are keys to dialogue where we are in a circle and we are all being mindful of what it looks like to be active participants who are encouraging the flowing of the space. So for some of us, that means if you're really quiet, you're going to be encouraged to share. If you're the one who always shares, you're going to be encouraged to listen. So there are principles of dialogue that you'll learn as you join this program. And I'm telling you, it's one of the most rewarding experiences when you can learn to be a participant in dialogue and then facilitate dialogue. You're going to find it. This is the kind of when you bring people together, and instead of having conversations or brain flows or debates or some of these other forms of having conversations as a group, they all have their place, but there is just something transformative and magical about dialogue. And it's one of the reasons, if you've been a part of our programs, if you've been to one of our workshops, and you thought there's something special here, all of these principles are the reason why, that it's because it's experiential, because it's process oriented. But this is the other one, because dialogue is my jam. This is what I've been trained to do, is to facilitate dialogue. So you're going to learn how to be first a participant in dialogue, and then by observing, you yourself can learn how to facilitate dialogue. If these principles, if this mission, if this experience resonates with you, I want you to be a part of our community, because this is different. This is for some people, this is going to be weird. It's going to be out there. So I am very aware that this is for a small group of people in the beginning. Other people want to join the bandwagon down the road, but I'm really looking for a small group of people who get what we're doing here. And I want you to be a part of the community. I want you to be a part of the community. If you get this, I want you to be here with us. You belong here. You are welcomed here. You are safe here. This is a place where you can be brave, where you can practice courage. So what does it look like to be a part of our community? The way I'm framing this is I want to invite you to invest in this community financially. I want you to think of this more as closer. If we think of paying for something as a spectrum, on one end, we have, a product. You're paying for the product. I want a coffee. I give you $5. You give me the coffee, right? That's on the left side. On the right is a donation. I am donating, and I'm not necessarily getting anything tangible back. I'm getting that feeling of being a part of something bigger than myself. This, I'm inviting you more through the lens of a donation. I want you to invest in this so that this community can grow. That's really the ask here. Now, there's two ways that you can contribute to the program. One is if you want to become a monthly sustainer. That is $8.80 a month. That's the price we have for if you want to be able to contribute using your credit card, then it's $8.80 a month. Now, for you, $8.80 is out of your price range. It's not what you're thinking. That's why we're looking at this as we're trying to use an equity model for investment. And what that means is everybody has a number in their mind that feels the same to each person. So we're calling it a pay what you need to be a part of this community. So for some folks, that means rather than being able to do $8.80 a month, they do $500 a month. For some folks, that means $150 a month. For some folks, that means $1 a month. Now, here's the thing. This is why this is equity rather than equality. Equality means everybody gets the same thing. Equity means everybody gets what they need. So I invite you to, if you get this, if you get what we're trying to do here, I invite you to think through. There's a push and pull. Okay. Here is the push. The push is, I want you to select a monthly contribution that makes this a priority for you. Okay, but that's the push. Now the pull is, but I don't want you to pick a number that's going to cause financial strain. Okay, so this is your first assignment. This is your first experiential journey joining this program. Is, can you do that? Can you figure out what is a number that allows you to be invested in this, but doesn't create financial strain? Now, this is the most stressful part of the journey for so many people, because they start to think, but I don't want to offend Tom. I don't want to pick a number that he feels disrespected by. So this is your first journey in believing me when I say that my ego is not wrapped up in whatever number you pick. I want you to be able to be a part of this program for at least 6 months. If you can be a part of this for at least 6 months, this is going to transform the way you view creativity, your relationship with it, and your ability to embody it. So pick a number that allows you to be a part of this for 6 months, knowing you're probably going to miss at least one writing workshop throughout those 6 months. So pick a number where if that happens, it's not like, oh my gosh. Okay. Pick a number. You got this. Now, the difference is, if you use the pay what you need model, we are not going to be able to create a separate checkout page for every single person. So you'll need to use Zelle to send your monthly donation. If you have questions on that, I got you. Okay. Any questions on this, my friends? This is where you can reach out to me right here. If you're ready to get started, this is where you can find all of the sign up links, ability to get started. I'm going to leave you with 2 quotes. So Kurt Vonnegut, famous author, he received a letter from some students at the Xavier High School in 2006 from a teacher named Miss Lockwood. She told her students to write to Kurt Vonnegut. And he wrote them back. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Here it is right here. But I'm going to read to you a paragraph from what he wrote back to the students, because it exemplifies what we're doing here together. He wrote, "Practice any art, music, singing, dancing, acting, drawing, painting, sculpting, poetry, fiction, essays, reportage, no matter how well or badly, not to get money and fame, but to experience becoming, to find out what's inside you, to make your soul grow." That is what we're doing here. I want you to engage in creativity, not to get money and fame, but to experience becoming. I'm going to leave you with one more becoming quote. You know you got to quote Michelle Obama when you bring up becoming. For me, becoming isn't about arriving somewhere or achieving a certain aim. I see it instead as a forward motion, a means of evolving, a way to reach continuously toward a better self. The journey doesn't end. The Direct Connect Method membership is that. It is an ability, it is an experience, it is the tools to reach continuously toward your better self. I would love for you to be a part of this program. If any of this doesn't make sense, hit me up. I got you. I appreciate you. As always, I'm wishing you peace and blessings. Thank you.